what your country can do
President
to
Kennedy
you.
has been shot.
One small step for man.
It needs to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
(2004 to 2006), a time in which Americans were devastated by natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina and by violence, as in the Iraq War and the Abu Ghraib prison. America's trust in the government had been declining since the 60s, but the years 2004 to 2006 marked a new low for public opinion of the government, with widespread protests against the war in Iraq as evidence from Iraq began to leak out. Despite the economy doing well, signs foretelling the housing bubble that would come to devastate America began to pop up. America had entered the war on terror, believing that victory would come quickly, but cracks were beginning to show up in this vision. In February of 2004, the first blow to the narrative surrounding Iraq came when the CIA announced that there were no weapons of mass destruction before the invasion of Iraq. Since one of the major justifications for the Iraq War was that the Iraqi government was in possession of them and planned to use them, this turned many Americans against the war. Only 2 months after this, the abuse at Abu Ghraib was revealed by 60 Minutes. Graphic descriptions about the torture and murder at this prison camp in Iraq further soured the public opinion on the war in Iraq, along with the fact that there were no major repercussions for this. In May, Bush announced the end of major combat operations in the war, while in June, American forces handed over control of Iraq to an interim government. Bush managed to win the 2004 election by a slim margin, beating John Kerry. Although Kerry was leading at first, a speech from Osama bin Laden threatening Bush boosted Bush's popularity significantly. Later, CIA analysis would conclude that the speech was made in order to boost Bush's popularity. The protests against the Iraq War would continue in 2005, with millions of protesters around the world denouncing American actions in the war. Over 150,000 people marched against the Iraq War in Washington, D.C. alone. In addition to this, Dick Cheney's advisor Scooter Libby resigned after being charged with perjury and obstruction of justice over an investigation into leaks about the Iraq War. Public trust in the government dropped even further as many people believed the government was corrupt. However, the most important event that dominated 2005, both culturally and politically, was Hurricane Katrina. Katrina killed nearly 2,000 people and devastated Louisiana and Mississippi, as the levees that were supposed to protect the coastline failed. Bush's and FEMA's responses to this were perceived as inadequate and slow, leading to a drop in popular support for Bush. Recovery was quicker than estimates predicted, but New Orleans would still not fully recover for more than a decade.
And Mississippi declare states of emergency.
All right, my name's Jacob. At the time when Hurricane Katrina happened, I was a freshman in high school, I believe. And I think at the time I didn't realize how catastrophic the hurricane really was, and what it meant to predominantly the black communities of New Orleans, and how much of a government failure it really was to provide any type of relief for the people who were affected by it. It wasn't until much later, and as the reports continued to come in, that you really started to understand that the government wasn't doing much for those people. And in fact was leading to more deaths as a result.
The controversy over the Iraq War continued in 2006, even as America appeared to be pulling out of Iraq, with more anti-war demonstrations and a march down Broadway in protest. The economy reached its peak with unemployment hitting the lowest rate in a century.
So what do you remember about Iraq?
The Iraq War, right?
I think the New Yorkers got very split ideas about the Iraq War. Some of them strongly supported, and then they even enlisted them into the war, but they got rejected because they were so old. But a lot of them, they were very skeptical about the war because it's very easy with our capabilities to wipe out one or two countries from the earth, but it will not be the ultimate solution. So as the war going on, more and more people got skeptical because it's not going to solve the problem.
However, this seemingly good sign masked the fact that the real estate bubble that was fueling growth had started to deflate, as over 1 million homes were foreclosed on in 2006 alone, as the price of houses dropped. As a result, banks started to become slightly more wary about subprime mortgages, but profits outweighed their concerns. Inflation also began rising again, another signal of the impending Great Recession. President Bush had implemented tax cuts while increasing military spending to pay for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. As a result, inflation drastically increased, further straining the economy. Finally, to cap off political events from 2004 to 2006, Saddam Hussein was hung in December of 2006. The overall atmosphere of the hanging, with hecklers and arguments, resulted in criticism of the Iraqi government. Culturally, one of the main issues dominating the period from 2004 to 2006 was gay marriage. Both Massachusetts and San Francisco began issuing certificates of marriage to gay couples in 2004, but 11 states also banned gay marriage in addition to the federal ban in place at the time. President Bush also expressed opposition to gay marriage, stating that he wanted an amendment that would define marriage as being between a man and a woman. Opinions varied drastically, with more liberal states quickly legalizing gay marriage, while conservative states moved in the opposite direction to ban it. However, the House and the Senate blocked multiple attempts to ban gay marriage once and for all. Both Facebook and YouTube were founded in 2004, expanding rapidly in the span of months. Google also became the world's most popular search engine in 2004, edging out AOL and Yahoo. Google then bought YouTube in 2005, leading to massive expansion for both companies. All three of these companies would come to dominate the internet in the years to come.
I was still a little kid when YouTube first went online, but I can definitely say that YouTube has changed my life since then, for better or for worse. There's an endless supply of educational videos that I know I should have watched when I was in middle and high school. But what's actually important is the videos that I ended up watching. From watching nerds falling out in Venice Beach to laughing at the silliest and dumbest pranks, YouTube kept me up till 9:01 when my bedtime was 9 p.m. sharp.
Yeah, this the real one, baby. I'm telling you, Chi-Town stand up. South side, we gon' set this party off right. West side, we gon' set this party off right.
Kanye West released his hit album The College Dropout in 2004. This was one of the most massively influential albums in the history of hip-hop, changing the direction of the entire genre. Many of the songs on The College Dropout dealt with emotional frustrations and everyday topics, while also retaining a lot of the characteristics of more mainstream hip-hop. His second album, Late Registration, only cemented his place as an artist who would become massively important to the music industry as a whole.
Hair so long that it looked like weave. Then she cut it all off, now she look like Eve. And she be dealing with some issues that you can't believe. Single black female addicted to retail as well. And when it falls down, who you gon' call now? Come on. And when it all falls.
The next few years would see the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, causing massive damage to the American economy. That's on the next episode of The Century. I'm Peter Jennings, and thank you for joining us.